The underdog. The long shot. The nobody from nowhere, never gonna happen 100 to 1 shot. We know something about that. We're with you every step of the way.
Welcome to the Thursday, brought to you by Ingles. We've got today Coach Fred Santos of UNC Asheville Volleyball and Carter Kennedy. And I want to thank you guys for coming on today. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having us.
Outstanding. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about, Carter, you've been furloughed from position with the Cincinnati Reds. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a part of the furloughs that happened in the front office and across the whole organization. It started on June 1st, and it's going to go until November at the latest, is what I've been told. Probably a possibility of us coming back earlier than that if a season ends up being played, but as of right now, everything is really up in the air.
Mm-hmm. Now, what have you been able to do with yourself now that you've got this excess time during the furlough period?
Well, I've actually been on vacation for a couple of weeks, so I haven't really felt the effects of the furlough yet. And I'm moving to a new apartment 2 blocks away, so now I have something else to do. It doesn't feel like I don't have a job at the moment. It just feels like I'm on vacation, which is not good. But check back in 2 weeks, and I'll let you know.
Outstanding. Coach, how are you doing? Coach Santos, how are you doing with the time away from your players, and how have you been able to adjust?
Well, gosh, it's been very difficult, when as your profession you interact with players, pretty much year round. To have that interaction now from a distance and, only by a, Zoom is, I would say, very difficult, because our profession, I feel, is hands-on, and so, this whole thing is thrown everybody, upside down and trying to figure out how to still be able to do the things you do, but via video. I think for us, it started with just basically learning how to communicate again and talk through a medium where you're not in the same room. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that's very important, and to be able to still be personable and to discuss things, and to because it's been a very difficult time for everybody, understand everybody's feelings. I think for me personally too, it's kind of the worst thing about all of this, right, is the mental aspect of it all. Because I think it takes a toll on you day after day after day when you're away from the sport. And for me, it's something that, I've been in this sport, since I started playing. I was 10 years old. So, you're looking at, without discussing my age, 30, 40 years doing this. So for one day when they say you can't do it, it's kind of, you miss it like it's a limb, like an arm, So, it's been difficult. It's been difficult.
Now, how has this impacted your recruiting?
I think it's impacted the in-person ability, for us to confirm what we usually see on video that's sent to us. Mm-hmm. We like to do the eye test, and you like to go, all right, this matches, or this is, what we like and what we would want to move forward. That's impacted because that part of it has been shut down. But now it's kind of, we were discussing beforehand with Carter, every state has a different rule. So, in Georgia, kids are practicing. In South Carolina, some kids are practicing. In Texas, I think some kids are practicing. And so in every state has been different, because there are some kids that are now having access to gyms, while there's some kids that are not having access to gym. So that's kind of helping and changing in a way. that ability to go do the eye test.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, you've had some amazing players during your tenure at UNC Asheville, and one of the ones that have definitely caught my eye, and it's just been impressive, especially from being an athlete myself. From an athletic standpoint, Julia Borges is one of the best athletes I've seen, really, that can get off the ground, that you've coached, from my point of view, from what I've seen. So I'm hearing that she's gotten a overseas contract. You care to touch on a little bit of that?
Yeah, I think, once the season ended and, things kind of, progressed and she started looking at the next step in her life, she wanted to continue playing. And so I think that she had an opportunity or two present itself to her, and she chose this one in Switzerland, which I think is a great opportunity for her to continue. It's a good team in a good part of Switzerland. It's a competitive league for sure. And I think, it gives her that opportunity to take the next step if she wants to keep going. It's another level up, right? From high school to college, and then college to pros is another level.
Yeah.
And so, it gives her that opportunity to really, like you said, display her athleticism, and develop her skills at a higher level.
Yeah. Yeah. Now with her leaving, that's senior leadership that you also have leaving the table as well. And it is so important for successful teams to have that type of leadership. What are your expectations for your incoming groups that you're going to expect to lead this team moving forward next year?
Well, and that's always the hardest thing to do, right? Because, whether you have one player coming in or you have 6 players coming in, I think it's always the chemistry is the hardest thing, to achieve. And also within that chemistry, leadership, right? Because, leaders emerge out of groups, and every group is not the same, and you can't treat every group the same. And so, there's new leaders are going to emerge, and so I think for me is one thing that I try very hard to do is let the volleyball court and the things that they do there help those leaders emerge, and I think, certainly, when you look at people like Carter and Kaylee and that group, they emerged as leaders in different situations. But the court spoke to those attributes, because of the work that they did day in and day out on the court. That really kind of gave them the credibility of a leader. It wasn't forced, it wasn't pushed. And you can accept it or you cannot accept it as well, but from the outside in, you can see that, you can see that, hey, if she was my teammate, I'd give her credibility. I'll follow her. She's got the traits. But that, again, that's something that you can't force. That's something you can't encourage. And so I think with new groups coming in and the new group that we're going to have, I think new leadership's going to emerge, and some people I think also will try to say I'm a leader, even though, that might not be in the eyes of everybody else, what leadership is. Yeah. So, that's where those dynamics, that's what I miss about, being out on the court. I love those dynamics, Yeah. So.
Yeah. Now, you touched on it a little bit. Carter, talk about your experiences at UNC Asheville as an athlete.
I loved going to UNC Asheville. As being an athlete in that athletic department, I felt like everyone knew who I was, but that was a good thing. I knew all the people in the administration, and they knew me, even my family, and I felt always very welcomed and encouraged. And I felt supported at all times. So I really liked it. I wasn't just another name. I was actually someone that I felt like I fit in there very well. And I definitely have missed it every day since I've left.
Now, how has that helped, transition into the job that you have now before you were furloughed?
Well, I loved going to a small school and working in a small athletic department because I got to basically my job when I was in college. If, say, I was working at South Carolina, for example, it would be someone that already had their degree that was in that position. And I was able to do it starting as a sophomore in college. So because it was smaller, I was given a lot more opportunities to do, I guess, more complicated positions that I wouldn't in other circumstances have been able to do. And so that helped tremendously when I was looking for internships. And then when you get the better internships, you get the better jobs out of college. And it was all just kind of a domino effect.
Awesome. Now, Fred, talk about the impact of the new floor in the Justice Center. Now, obviously, that was the gym that I came up in. I wasn't sad or anything like that. And when I saw it, I just was shocked when I saw it. But just, talk about the impact of that. Because that's your gym now. That's your gym. It's not ours anymore. That's yours. Just talk about how that impact has really played on your team, your recruiting, all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, John, it's not mine. It belongs to the university. I think the floor changed a lot of the dynamics. I think for us, one thing over the years is just how much we have to stop practice to wipe down that floor.
Yeah.
And how much there in the back of your mind is that safety factor. Am I going to slip if I try too hard, if I go hard? So I think the mental aspect, again, to have a floor where our players felt secure is huge.
Yeah.
I think the fact that then added to that you can personalize a floor that kind of, looks neat in the camera. It looks totally different for somebody that walks in and sees that floor. I mean, I still, to this day, when I walk in there and I see that floor, it's like, wow, that looks so awesome. And it looks so different. And, and I think other schools, like when we opened up the floor, they were coming in, they're like, how much did you pay for that? That looks awesome. We want to get one too. We've got so many compliments. Oh, this is so nice to play on. I think that changes a lot of things. And it, I don't dislike wood floor. I'm not going to say that's the issue. I think it's a floor that right now in our sport is being used all over the country, and to put us on par with schools like the SEC, the ACC that have floors like that is tremendous. It's tremendous for recruiting, because you can say you have something like an SEC or ACC school has, I think it gives you a little bit more.
And it makes preseason 1,000 times easier.
Yeah. Especially, we don't have AC, but we have a floor that now can absorb, sweat a lot better, and it can help us keep practices safe, keep the players safe, and cut down on just, bringing out a broom and, which you can say is part of the game, but it was so much stopping that was done that, I think it's enhanced so much. And that's been, I think, a goal for the longest time is how can I keep enhancing for the women's volleyball team, their experience while they're there, Carter's experience or anybody that's coming after Carter. How can we keep enhancing? How can we keep, if justice is going to be assigned for a volleyball gym, how can we keep enhancing volleyball in that gym? Atmosphere, and is it signage on the walls? What's our next step? That's what we want to do for the players. Like the net system is one thing that we worked on and is amazing. again, we are on par with some of the best schools in the country as far as that net system. Those are the things that we want to keep upgrading for our players, to not say, hey, you have less, but look at what you have is great, so that's kind of, along those lines what we think.
So there's still no AC in there?
Yeah, there's still no AC. An open door.
The infrastructure in the building.
Couple of fans.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things they used to tell us is that Eddie B used to tell us this all the time, and he would say, Coach, we'd be in the gym in the summertime all summer, 3 times a day, and we would say, hey, Coach, what's going on? Is there no AC in here? He'd say no, obviously, but he would say, but you know what this is going to do is that's going to build character. Working out in a hot gym in the summertime is where champions are made. So he used to pick on us about that all the time, but I'm actually okay with it still not being.
Other teams would come in and you would see them during a game dying, but we have been playing and practicing in that for months, and we're used to it.
It creates an advantage. An advantage. I love it.
For sure.
So are you guys what's going on regarding the COVID-19 as far as how we're going to approach the season? How's that going to change your preseason moving forward?
Well, I think what happens is, right now we're waiting for the NCAA championship committee to decide if they want to move the Final Four up, right? Because traditionally, and don't quote me, I think the Final Four is the weekend before Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And so they want the ideas that I've heard is moving it to Thanksgiving, which in a sense compress the season. So if that happens, we'd be looking at possibly starting just conference schedule, and there'd be no preseason tournaments. If you have a chance to maybe get in a midweek match, that might happen. But then we would put our total resources into a conference season only. And then our objectives then become really, the importance is let's play a conference tournament, a conference schedule. Let's do the conference tournament and crown a champion, because that's the best that we can do. Yeah. And I think, at this point, I think there's a consensus among the coaches that it's better to have a season, any kind of season, than to not have any season at all. So, so basically, depending on what that decision is, that will tell us, okay, we need to schedule preseason tournaments, or we need to forget that and let's just focus on conference only. And we as a conference have worked out a few different schedules, in prepare to respond to whatever the NCAA says, right? So if we lose a preseason, we want a more robust conference schedule, right? So we want to play more matches if possible, because at the end of the day, we want to play, right? So we need to get some matches in. And so, I think that's the main consideration. As far as preparation, I think we'll get probably somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks before the first, match happens, which, it should be enough between, working with our strength and conditioning coach and doing volleyball sessions. I think we should be okay. But, I think you also have to, again, varying between states, there's a lot of people that are in the same boat. But I think that, today will be a big decision day on which direction we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out as well. I've wondered how, or what could happen if they were going to do it between conferences and just make it a conference thing, just so you have something. Because, I think about a lot of the college kids that have, that had spring sports this past year, and they were unable to finish up. Like, there was a lot of seniors in there. They were unable to finish up there and put a period on that career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough situation. And so it just changes the whole scope of the game and how we're approaching it, and how we have to adjust and adapt, and the ideas and that we have to, create in order to make this thing happen. But I am hoping that there will be sports this fall. That's been one of my main things, just in general, because I am bored out of my mind.
I'm hoping there's going to be sports this summer.
Well, yeah, exactly. I know that, for your job standpoint, but then also thinking about just watching some competitive play,
Yeah.
And I miss it.
Like so much Korean baseball at 5 a.m.
Yeah. I feel you there. Speaking of competition, and I ask about this with just about every coach that we have on. Trash talk is different beyond the sports, okay? Like with basketball, it's a lot more face-to-face interaction going on. We got to talk with baseball. One of the things they talked about was the trash talk was a lot more complex and subtle, and you couldn't tell whether or not that was directly at me. Were you paying me a compliment, or are you talking trash? With volleyball, I've seen some stuff. I've seen some hands going on. Obviously, I feel that it's really, really petty that you celebrate you're celebrating after every point, and it's like a win every single time you score to me. And I'm just like, man, I'd be getting upset if you score like 6 or 7 in a row on me, and then all of a sudden I've got to, then you beat me, then we got to go around the net, and it's just, talk about that whole process. Like, I feel that I've seen some stuff. I want to hear from you, Coach. Just your experience with all that.
Look, you'll have to ask Carter about the across the net. I'm not that close, so I can't. I'm right there as close as I can to the court, but I can't hear. I sometimes see some staring across the net.
There you go, right there. The stares, the looks. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I see that, but I don't see the what's coming out. You'll have to ask Carter about that, because she's on the court. So I can only speak from my experience when I was playing. There was some subtle hint drops of that you just got blocked, or I just hit that one past you, or whatever. But that was back in my day, a long time ago. You have to ask Carter about what the dynamics are today.
Yeah, I think subtle is definitely the right word. I feel volleyball definitely has kind of a standard it likes to hold itself to regarding trash talk. It's really kind of super frowned upon. Also, the ref is like 4 feet away from you. So if you say something too loudly, they're going to hear all of it, and they're standing there the whole time. It's not like they're running back up and down the court. There have been a couple times where you can hear the blockers across the net, and they're, whispering stuff to each other, talking about other girls on our team. And there's been one instance where I remember a girl looked at me from across the net. She pointed at me and she went, it's little stuff like that, but it doesn't compare to anything that you'll see in football or hockey or you name it, but it's very passive aggressive.
That's what I wanted to talk about as well. Like, like I said, with basketball, and soccer too. Soccer's pretty much, you can do whatever's clever. That's a lot of field and a lot of court to make up with only a handful of refs and officials. With volleyball, like, you've got that official just standing right over you. So you've got to get really clever to be able to trash talking. With our volleyball team, when I went to school, they were very good trash talkers. And so I always had wondered about that. Like, is there a method to the madness of how you go about it and how you approach it? But I'm glad that I know.
We just have our ultimate frisbee team do it for us from the stands.
There,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just got muted.
Yeah.
Volleyball has always had some very unique fans.
On the bananas.
Yes, I'm telling you, when I was in school there, basketball, we'd go watch the volleyball games, but the entire baseball team would be in there. They would dress up, they'd wear different colors, and in Justice, we've got that mat on the bleachers where you can slap the pad or whatever, right? And baseball, and I would say that they're probably the strongest sport that we have based on when we used to do testing for, bench press, all that stuff. They would slap the life out of that pad. And I don't think that's what that pad was meant to be for. But they would make a ton of noise. They'd scream. They created the environment that you needed if you needed some type of momentum to get yourself going.
Our ultimate frisbee team definitely took on that role probably within the last 5 years, wearing banana costumes. They had monkey suits on, morph suits, you name it. They had it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Coach, what's one thing you're looking forward to? Hoping that the season gets started back up too. But one thing you're looking forward to, if at all we can get back to some type of normalcy within our sport.
Right now, John, I would love to be in the gym with the players, just having practice and just, maybe even just stepping back and just taking a moment, just to really enjoy that, watching them play. It's kind of like releasing somebody and just play a little bit, just get, I know you had this taken away from you, just to have the pure joy of watching sports again, like you talked about. And especially for us at UNC Asheville, just, any sport, any of our athletes, I will enjoy that now, I think, more than I've ever enjoyed it before. I had tremendous respect, and I do, for all of our athletes. And I love to watch them do, to work out, to go in the strength and conditioning room. I mean, sometimes I like to watch, people shoot, just come in for shoot around, any practice. But now it's just going to take a different perspective, because I haven't seen that. It feels like, everything's been shut down for so long, just to be able to see that, and I know that those particular people will be enjoying the ability to do that again, even to lift weights, or to be able to, I'm going to go through a physical conditioning workout with a strength coach. They will enjoy that 10 times more than they ever have, because they haven't had the ability to do it for so long. So for me, I don't want to take that kind of moment for granted, because, in my career, which I hope will go on for many more years as a coach, you can say that I've probably taken for preseason for granted, because I know it's coming, but this preseason is going to be different than all the other preseasons, because it's going to be the first preseason again. It's going to be so different. Everybody's is going to approach it differently, with, I hope, renewed enthusiasm and love for the game that they've missed for so long.
Yeah. Now, obviously, as a from a fan point of view, and from a person that loves to watch sports and loves to be involved in different types of sports, you know, one thing that I took for granted too is I haven't watched enough of our UNCA sports. I haven't watched enough volleyball. And one of the things that me as a fan, I'm going to make sure that I do if we can get this thing going is to get out there and really watch what you guys do. Watch you guys, because I always thought, like you said before, that it was always going to be there. I was always going to see it. I'll catch one eventually, as a fan, as an alumni. And one of the things that I want to do now is we're going to end it on this with you guys talking, you know, to the fan base of UNC Asheville. One thing that you'd like to leave for the fans to look forward to, hopefully for this upcoming season.
Carter?
Oh, you got to take this one away first, Coach.
I got to take this away first. Well,
Yeah.
I hope that the fans, and hopefully they'll be allowed to come back to the games. Hopefully, we will allow fans. I hope that they have the same kind of, thought process that I do, that, we miss this, we love this, we are here to support you in what you love to do as an athlete. Don't take for granted any minute that you play this sport, because things like this, these are the things that we talk about, that the sport can disappear any minute. You can get injured. We talk about worst case scenarios, right? And this is like the worst case scenario. That we don't take those precious minutes and seconds that we're out on the court wearing a uniform, representing UNCA, every point that we earn, every game and match that we get to play, that we enjoy every single moment on this comeback, and that the fans help us through that, and that we can help them too, because I think it's good for everybody's mental health. It's great for the general, mindset of everybody. Competition's back. We get to cheer, we get to, be alive again, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Carter,
obviously I'm not there anymore, but yeah, all I can say is I really hope that the seniors, especially, that are still on the team, are, doing everything they can to not take this last season for granted. Not that I took my last season for granted. I was trying to, cherish every moment, but it's going to end eventually. And I know it's such a weird time for everyone, and my heart goes out to especially the basketball players that got their season cut short when they were really just getting to the best part. But yeah, I'm excited for the fans to have sports back at UNCA. I'm excited to go back for homecoming or whenever I can actually make a game that fans are allowed to. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping everyone, keeps supporting these programs that they've been supporting for so long, even if they're not able to actually go to the games in the fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great stuff. Well, thank you guys. I definitely do appreciate you guys coming in on today's Thursday 30, brought to you by Ingles. And I'm wishing you guys the best of luck. Hoping for a season for both of you, and hoping that we can get together very, very soon and chop up sports again. Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.